Well, good morning, everyone. It's Monday, May 1st, and today is May Day. May Day, if you've heard of the Maypole, if you've heard of all those kind of things, a little pagan, pretty, long history on May Day, but it is a day that is celebrated mostly in Europe. Uh, Russia has a big May Day thing that they do. Of course, you've heard of May Day, May Day, May Day, and that kind of thing when the plane's going down. You really don't want to hear that if you don't have to. That's an emergency call. Uh, but I think as we head into spring, we ought to be saying Mayday to God. This nation, this world is on a crash course with evil, and God already knew that. I mean, if you read the Bible, it's predicted. He's omniscient, and also uh, just a couple of announcements. We're coming into the camping season. School's almost over, so we're going to have Vacation Bible School going on. We're going to have Falls Creek camps, kids camps, other kinds of things. Mission trips are usually taking place this time of year. So I hope your prayer habit, your prayer time is caught up and you're doing well. We're going to talk a little bit about how to get God's attention today on something that we've kind of let go, that we don't talk about much, but is something true and something that we should do. So with that, I'll start off Ball Cap Bible Study today. This is I don't know how well you can see that, but this is a Southwestern Theological Seminary emblem on this hat. We went down to Texas last week and had a great time. We went to the seminary. We saw the Lottie Moon house, all that kind of the real tiles. The roof tiles were really brought back from China, plus her possessions and lots of things there. In the Mathena building, that was a good trip, a good time. Then we went to the JFK Museum, and lots of conversation on the bus back about, did Lee Harvey Oswald have anything at all to do with it? Was it real? Were the shots really from there? That kind of thing. So it was a good trip. And then, of course, Buc-ee's. I'm still burping beef jerky. So with that, we'll get into Ball Cap Bible Study. So we're in the Sermon on the Mount. We've gone through the Beatitudes. We've gone through how to treat people, how to treat enemies, that kind of thing. Just behavioral things. Now we're in a section about. So we've gone from how to be, how to operate, how to function, how to deal with people. Now it's how do we deal with God? How do we approach God? And this is a section where Jesus has talked about how to give, how to pray, and he places an emphasis on humility. The entire Sermon on the Mount places a big emphasis on humility, but on this section, how to give and how to pray, and what we're going to see here in a minute, he places an emphasis on not only humility, but this um, intimacy with God. That it would be like you wouldn't remember in school where there was public display of affection that was a no-no. They wouldn't even let you hold hands with a girlfriend in high school. Well, this is similar, kind of a bad example, but this is similar in that Jesus tells us, do these things with God in secret, because God sees in secret. And he talks about not doing things to be seen by men, by others, because then you have your reward. If your motivation is what other people think about you, then when you put things on public display, there you go. You have your reward. But Jesus is talking about when you're giving, that's a form of worship. That's a very intimate time. And people shouldn't know, not because we're ashamed of it, but because of the intimacy and the worshipfulness of it. We're not worshiping other people. Why do we even care what they think? How much, if the only reason they think highly of me is because of how much I give to the church or to God, then they don't have the right perspective of me to start with. So when we look at this intimacy and this way we deal with God and approach, it's just between me and God. It's a personal relationship. And that's what Jesus, go in the closet, just you and God, to pray. He's not saying don't pray in public. There's nothing wrong with public prayer and corporate prayer and that kind of thing. Praying at a restaurant to bless the food, all that. But the people that pray with the really flowery speech and lots of repetition and on and try to impress other people with their prayer, many of those prayers don't get above the ceiling. Same way with giving. Basically, Jesus says on all of these things, if you're doing them in order to be seen or to be heard and for other people to think highly of you, then you've got your reward. You've accomplished that task. But that's not the purpose of why to give and why to pray and why to this next one, fast. This is something that we have totally forgotten. Most people do not fast. We think of it as this ancient ritual, kind of in that realm of meditation. And we also think of meditation as being this, secular thing, this mystic Eastern thing, meditation, but it's not. We're to meditate on the Word of God. We're to meditate on our relationship with God. Meditation is pondering and thinking and pushing everything else out. Well, fasting, why do we fast? That doesn't make sense. And understand, you don't have to fast just from food. Fast is sacrificial in nature, but it's also something that reminds us, but it also prioritizes that relationship with God. Fasting is something that says, God is more important to me than anything, even eating or watching the University of Oklahoma sports or going to a movie, whatever it is that draws you or you like or you really enjoy doing or you want to do. Fasting from it emphasizes your relationship with God and where you place him on the list. And it's demonstrative. Now, when you see what Jesus says about fasting, you go, wow. Because the question is, why do we fast? Well, I think there are several reasons. We fast to get God's attention. That sounds silly, but we're demonstrating to God how important this issue is. We fast over an issue. So we don't just fast to fast. It's not a diet, but it's purposeful. So we fast over something to get God's attention and to get our attention. So when we fast, it reminds us every time that hunger pain comes, or every time you want to, I know some people fast from television, or so anytime you want to grab that remote control, or a lot of people today fast from the news, different things. But every time that that desire shows up or that hunger pain, it reminds you, pray, meditate, dwell on, petition God, journal, whatever, read the Bible. So when we fast, it's one of the most intimate things we can do with God and for God. And so it's gonna get God's attention, it's gonna get our attention, and it's gonna have this purpose of really it's a focus issue. We're going to focus on things. So here we go. I got my Bible on the phone. Okay, listen to this. Whenever you fast, now listen to his language. It's implicit, but it's intentional. Jesus says, and all the versions say this, like when you pray, when you give, that kind of thing. So why would fasting go the way of the dodo bird? If Jesus says, when you fast, he doesn't say if you fast. He doesn't say if the church develops a fasting ministry, if there's a new program that comes out. If you read once after you've read this book on fasting, do you see what I'm saying? It's something that is just expected. It's like when you get up in the morning, okay, when you fast, do not put on a gloomy face as the hypocrites do, for they neglect their appearance so that they will be noticed by men when they are fasting. Wow. They go around, they don't bathe, and they don't do their hair, and they, whatever. They're all disheveled. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, I'm fasting. Yeah, I just no. Jesus is saying, from what I give, do you tell me if you see something different? Nobody should even know you're fasting, and unless you have a close friend and you share those kinds of things. If it's normal conversation, and you have an accountability partner, you have whatever. That's one thing. A D group discipleship, group of buddies that goes fishing, camping, love the Lord together, do life together. Obviously, a spouse is going to know you're fasting, different things, but nobody else really should know. No one should be able to. It's kind of like people should be able to look at you and tell you're a Christian. Nobody should be able to look at you and tell you're fasting, because people kind of thrive on attention, and it's not about you. You're not fasting so that you can be something better and special. You're fasting for that purpose. You're fasting for the focus. But he says, truly, I say to you, they have their rewards in full. When the people notice, because you go, oh, I'm so hungry, I'm fasting. Well, guess what? Boom, there you go. You got your reward. Truly, I say to you, they have the reward in full. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. Anoint means like perfume. They had oil, it was infused, with lemon zest or whatever. And that's spray on some cologne. Don't be stinky, and don't go without bathing. Yeah. There's some cultures out there that won't bathe for a long time until certain thresholds are hit. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that your fasting will not be noticed by men, but your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So there's the promise. The promise is you'll get God's attention, and he sees in secret, and he rewards in secret. And the thing is, don't waste that blessing by, announcing it to the world. It's between you and God. Some things are private because they're intimate. So let me ask this. Do you fast? And I'm not saying weekly or monthly, but when was the last time you fasted? When was the last time you actually devised and developed a fasting plan and initiative just for you about something? I've always said there ought to be a sonic boom, this shockwave that emanates from our churches, because everybody hits their knees at the same time. But who's fasting today? Who's even trying to get God's attention? Fasting, think about like the Beatitude, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Could you say, blessed are those who fast, because God will see it? So I just encourage you to fast, research it, develop it, practice it. Don't do it superficially. Don't do it, for silly stuff. Make sure it's godly things you're fasting for. Things it goes with prayer. Think about it. Comes right after the Lord's Prayer. So fasting should be combined with prayer. You fast to remind you to pray, that kind of thing. So, all right, that's it. I'll let you guys go. So, hope that didn't go too fast.